Went through okay and everything?
Yeah, everything's
Okay, great.
Yeah, hey, it's bourbonblog.com live with Cigar Saturday live on a Saturday night here. I'm Tom Fischer. Matty Rock joining us, of course, as always, from Sanja's there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
In New Jersey, and it's with great pleasure that we welcome to the show Travis Likens, founder of UVD Toys. What's happening, Travis and Matty?
Just hanging out on a Saturday here, talking to you guys. So it's a good weekend.
Excellent.
We appreciate that. We need any happiness we can get.
Right.
So thanks for coming on today, brother. Tom and I appreciate you, and I just have to start off by saying what a fanboy I am with stuff like this, and I'm going to let you really dig into it. But as I've told you guys and gals out there before, how important art is in everything that we do. Everything from branding to everything to do to things that you see, to really the last couple of years to adding that extra joy to people's lives that people really needed and some pretty down and dark times. And see me work with when you see me do stuff with Chris work and you see stuff with Atomic, I'm like, this is the dude right here that he gives that platform so you could see all this vinyl, be able to. There we go. Chris's ears just went. So this gives you the opportunity to have that art in a collectible format that's never going to break the bank in you. So for you to be able to own this, it's going to lighten your day and really, add that extra essence to you than trying to go out, maybe drop $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a piece. You now have a way that you can actually have it and enjoy it in your home. And I think, like I said, especially with the last 2 years, really important. And we love what you've done, brother. I'm going to pass the mic over to you and tell us how the company came to be, your involvement, your artists, and so forth.
Yeah. And I'll start out, first by just tossing out there kind of a follow-up to what you just said. And I mean, exactly what you described as the goal of, designer toys. And UVD doesn't just make toys, like we also make, for lack of better terms, merch, right? We make products that people can buy that go all the way from $10 all the way up to, 500 or 1,000. But we try to provide lots of price points for artists to be able to provide items to their fan base and allow them to, hopefully catch somebody that maybe can afford a $20 item today, but maybe can afford that $500 or $1,000 or, $5,000 thing, 4 or 5 years down the road. So, the goal is always to provide lots of different, price points for people so that they, everybody can get in where they can afford to be, we aren't trying to force anybody to buy anything or anything like that, but we're trying to give everybody a way to have a piece of art from people that they enjoy. And that's not always capable for somebody that, if their paintings are $500 or something, it's not like somebody can drop that, once a week or something. They gotta, you gotta have them something that they can, kind of buy into at a lower price point. So that's really the goal of what UVD Toys is. And we love helping artists provide products to their fan base at price points that are affordable. So, but as far as UVD and how it became a thing, so in 2010, I started a blog with a friend of mine called Urban Vinyl Daily. So that blog basically was a blog that covered all the stuff. If you see UVD today, basically that's what UVD or Urban Vinyl Daily covered, which was artists that were either toy artists, street artists, poster artists, contemporary artists, pop surrealists, all that kind of stuff. And we covered everything they were doing. So we weren't just a toy blog, but we were more artist centric. So we were focusing on if you were an artist that was releasing a print, but you also made toys or any of that kind of stuff, we covered it all. So I did that until 2016. And some of this kind of blurs over. So Urban Vinyl Daily and UVD were kind of going on at the same time. We decided to do a Kickstarter to help bring to life this product called Luna. And then that was with the artist couple, the Bots. And at that time, Tony, who's half the Bots, we decided that it would be a good idea to go ahead and try to figure out how to make this a Kickstarter and how to produce it and all that kind of stuff. So we got on Kickstarter, we were successful, and we raised all the money, and then we had to make the thing. So, I had a lot of contacts from being the blog and all this kind of stuff, and we were able to basically produce that product, bring it, deliver on time, and, get it out to the fans. And once that was all over, Tony and I sat down and said, we could do that again. We could try to do this again and see what we could achieve. And we did it with two prongs at that point. We did another Kickstarter for a product called Ellie by the artist MJ Sue. And at the same time, we were also producing a figure for my friend JC Rivera. So we made the Bear Champ figure. And when this Bear Champ figure kind of, came out and was successful for us, that's when we realized like we could actually do this. Like it wasn't like, that before it was kind of like we were helping people, or we could, just kind of do things and kind of make it work. But after that Bear Champ figure, we realized, we can make toys and we can market and sell and help artists achieve that goal of providing price points. And it's been nonstop since then. I mean, we've made toys with tons and tons of artists, and we've had a lot of success, some failures, some trips along the ways, but we've learned and we've made some really fun and unique projects that really, I mean, if you look at the designer toy scene over the past couple of years, we're kind of, one of the bigger US based production houses at this point. And, it's crazy to look back on it because you're always looking forward. Right. And I don't always take the time to appreciate all the stuff we've done. So it's kind of, I guess humbling when I look back and see all the stuff we've done, but there's just so much more that's coming that like I can't focus on and enjoy what we've done in the past. So.
Yeah. Right now, Dina's watching going, how much more in the house? How much more? There has to be more.
Yeah. So, I mean, so COVID really kind of screwed the pooch on everything. But as far as toys are concerned, it really kind of caused disastrous problems for us. I mean, the past year and a half or so, we should have had, probably 6 more projects that have come out. They didn't because they're still sitting in factories or shipping or wherever they're at in the process. And that really created a lot of problems because suddenly, we've got stuff that was supposed to be spread out over a year that's going to be finished up in, a couple of months all together. And it's like, that's a lot of money to drop down. So, COVID's really strapped a lot of people in my position where they're making stuff, because not only am I strapped, but then the next person that's hit is the retailer and the fan base. The retailers are getting hit from everybody like me. They're like, hey, your thing's done. Like, hey, you want to order more or whatever. So, I mean, really COVID has really disrupted the whole production logistics. It's just made a nightmare across the board. And, somebody like Target or something could absorb that. But like, people like us that are independent producers, it becomes really, really hard. Because really it's amazing that designer toys exist in the first place. I mean, they shouldn't. Like somebody that just, works out of their house in Ohio shouldn't be able to go to China and make stuff. Like, I mean, 30, 40 years ago, that wouldn't have happened. But the internet shrank the world, right? And now it happens. But, as far as major things like this, it's just kind of like, it's crazy that any of this stuff's getting made, like at this point with COVID and all that kind of stuff. So,
and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think it was 2 weeks ago we had one of your associates on there. We had Mr. Jeremy Maddle on there, and just everybody was seeing these kind of things, and I'm glad that you're coming on and people are hearing it, because there we go. There we go. So right now Jeremy's like, whoop, see the ear out. So
yeah.
I'm glad you're saying that, because a lot of people are like, oh, it can't be supply chain with everything. And I tell people, I'm like, you got to understand it is. I'm like, Alex, at the end of the day, business is business. Smaller companies, obviously, especially the end consumers like us who love and appreciate the art. Everyone's like, well, how about now? It's got to be cleared up now. And I could promise you, and you can say the same, because we've seen it. There are still stuff, guys and gals, that are sitting on boats outside Port of Los Angeles. Not, and people are like, that can't be possible. I'm like, trust me. From a logistics side, it's not possible.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, the perfect, I mean, I don't know if anybody else can tell you any different, but there's some people that are going different ways now. They're not going to Long Beach. They're going up to like Seattle and stuff. But the last 2 shipments we had, prior to 2020, it took 45 days. It was like clockwork. It'd leave the factory, and 45 days later, you can set your watch. This truck's rolling up to your front door, right? The last 2 shipments took over 4 months. No updates, no nothing. Like, you know, you pay all this money to the factory and it sits there, and then 4 months later you can start selling stuff. Like, it's insane. I mean, that's why, like, on our site and probably most other designer toy companies in the scene, you're seeing a lot more pre-orders, because I mean, the investments are huge. I mean, these aren't cheap things to bring to life. And you know, it's hard for us to, at this point, used to 45 days, like, I'll pay it and then we can sell it in 45 days, you know, that's fine. But 4 months, it's almost impossible to wait that long and, you know, pay out these huge bills and then have to sit and wait for 4 months. Like, so that's why you're seeing more pre-orders in, you know, independent production kind of situations, small scale. But I mean, even if you look at like Hasbro and stuff, they're doing pre-orders now.
Look at Kid Robot.
Yeah, Kid Robots. They're selling off of 3D renders. I mean, for my pre-orders, I refuse to sell anything that I don't have a sample of. But I mean, yeah, like, a lot of companies are selling straight off the 3D renders now. I mean, Super 7 does that. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just personally don't feel comfortable doing it. Because I mean, if you were a pre-order of the Atomic Orange, as you know, I pre-ordered it like last February, and they were supposed to be here in like June, July timeframe. And they weren't here until October. And, you know, I was not happy that it took that long. And fans were upset that it took that long. But I mean, when you do a pre-order and you put up there, you know, estimated shipping date, that really is an estimate. And the real world situation, when I list the pre-order, may not be the real world situation, you know, towards delivery. And unfortunately, a lot of this is out of my control and other people's control. And, you know, getting upset at me doesn't necessarily help either.
I'm glad you said that, because it was everywhere. You saw, I think the biggest one is when there's one Clutter dropping the can box.
Yeah, they're caught up in the same mess, you know.
People, they're like, you know, I'm watching people condemn these guys. I'm like, guys, I know you did your Kickstarter. I know you're waiting for these products, like, but you gotta understand that it's a different world. Things that no one imagined it happening in a billion years. And I'm like, trust me, I can guarantee that people don't want to be yelled at. People, they have their bills paying their side, because guess what? They had to pay the factory to do this. They had to pay shipping. They had to pay everything. I'm like, they already took the logistics. And so it's not like they stole your money and ran, my friends. I'm like, they need to deliver these things.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, the real world situation, like, we're kind of in America, like, I guess we've decided COVID's not a thing anymore or something. I don't know. But in China, it's still very real. And they literally just shut down towns, like entire cities, this past week, including the city where most toys are made. So here we are again. Like, they're shut down for the next week. And who knows if it's only going to be a week. It could be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Who knows? But they're shutting down because of COVID and crazy increases in the, you know, cases and everything. So, I mean, you know, we like to think that we're moving forward, I guess, with COVID and everything, but, you know, the whole world is not done with this. And, you know, we're not done with it here either. We're just in a lot better situation than we were 2 years ago. Right. But it's still going to be affecting consumer products, all the way up to, you know, like the Walmart, Target level. I mean, I don't know if you guys have had any like car stuff or anything like that, but I'd ordered some tires for my classic car that I own. And it took 7 months for them to arrive. Like, I mean, everything just takes longer now. And it's not toys. It's not just anything. I mean, like, everything is affected. So
the supply chain, anything that's coming in from overseas. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, look, man, you know, people yelling at car dealerships. I'm like, I bet you any amount of money, a salesman wants to make sales. He's not, he's not keeping something back. Trust me, they want to be doing this.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy when you drive by the car lots, man. Like, there's a huge one not too far from where I live, and I have to drive by it to go to my parents' place. And the first couple of times that I went by there, when they just had like, you know, 7 cars out there, you know, usually they have like hundreds, you know. And I was like, oh, I wonder if they're like redoing the blacktop or something. And then it like clicked, you know, like, oh, they don't have any cars.
And you have these manufacturing fields like, well, like they're doing with the new Broncos. We have the cars. There's one small problem. We don't have the chips to put in.
Yeah, they're just like parked.
You know, a football field full of Broncos that can't be brought to market because they don't have the chips to go on them.
But a lot of them were pre-sold because those were all like pre-ordered and everything.
So that brings Grouchy to a new level. It's like, hey, I don't have my $75 toy. And the guy's like, hey, I don't have my $55,000. I was like, all right, I'll buy this.
World problems, right?
Right? It's like, all right, you get to vent first, but just this time.
Yeah. Let me pop this up, your Instagram here, and let's talk about any of these recent toys you might want to talk about. Anything?
Yeah, so I guess we can just start at the top there. That first photo on the left is actually a photo that a retailer took over in Tokyo. That figure was designed by the artist Wizard Skull. It's called Sexy Ronald.
That looks like Ronald. Yeah, Ronald McDonald a little bit. Yeah.
So he back in, I believe it was 2011, 12, or 13, somewhere in that time frame, was doing a wheat paste campaign in Brooklyn. It's a pretty famous wheat paste campaign.
Right.
And that toy, or that character, had never really been turned into a toy. The Sucklord and him did a collaboration where they released a small resin version that was hand done, but it had never been a vinyl toy. So we started talking about doing a project, and we were kind of bouncing back and forth because a lot of his work is based on pop culture. Right. And we were like, well, I don't know if McDonald's will get mad about this. And it had been viral a couple of times, and he'd never, been sued or anything. So we went with that figure. So it actually a restaurant over in Tokyo or Japan somewhere, I guess, had originally appropriated his appropriated design, and they were using it as a like an image for their menus. So that went viral a few years ago, about 2017 or so. I mean, Carrot Top was talking about it because everybody was tagging him in it. And because they thought it looked like Carrot Top. It was on the news. It was on like local newses. It was all over the place. So we felt like this was a safe one to go with. And we made it, and then it went viral again. So the original one, the red, like his tights are red in the original one, and that was on the BBC. Our figure it went viral on like Reddit, and then popped up on Facebook and a couple of other places, and it went on the Mirror and the Sun and all those like tabloids. There was tabloids clicks coming from like Tokyo and and China and Hong Kong as well. It ended up in all kinds of tabloids, and it was on the BBC in the end. So that was pretty crazy. But this is the second edition. The first one, the original colorway, is sold out. I have some of these left in my store. This is called the Old Glory edition. So.
Okay, the Old Glory edition. This is I like it. That's that is cool. Okay, what do we have here?
This one is Abstract Vampiro, and Abstract is an artist from Miami. He's an artist of Cuban descent. He does a lot of graffiti, a lot of fine artwork as well, and his work is all abstract, right? So that's the name. But he also has this character that he utilizes a lot of his work that's a vampire, based on a Cuban movie, which is escaping me at the title right now. But he paints this character a lot in his work, and he approached us about making this toy, and we jumped on the chance to do it. This is the second colorway. It is the Shock Orange edition. It actually glows in the dark, and is only available from our partners over at TenaciousToys.com.
Wow. So that's only available there. Okay.
Yeah, it's limited to 100 pieces. So
wow. So some of these are very limited editions then.
Yeah, that's kind of part of the whole designer toy thing. Usually there's something like there's the original colorway of something, and a lot of times those aren't limited, but most things in designer toys are limited edition. It kind of helps keep it tied to the artist and the artwork, and allows you to create exclusivity for designs, and makes people excited to collect. So, and this one here is Atomic, which is a Miami-based artist as well. And his character is an orange, and that is the Spring Training Edition, which is inspired by some South Florida baseball in the 90s, their colors. So I don't want to say that we stole the idea from something, but it is inspired by something. And I do have some of those left as well on my site. Their edition of 150. So
150. Wow.
Yep.
So these are very very limited. Okay, that's the one we just sold.
Yeah, that's just the product photos for it.
So. Excellent. And again, this is the Instagram UVD Toys. Fun to follow them on all social. It looks like we may have someone else who's who's ready to join us. Chris is here.
What's up, guys?
Masked up.
How's it going?
I was literally just walking out the door, and I just wanted to jump in and say what's up.
It's good to see you.
Look
Good
what
to
I'm
see you
wearing.
again.
Ah,
I appreciate that. How's everybody doing?
I even brought you along.
Nice.
So where are you headed to? You're heading out the door.
Yeah, well, I'm finally getting something to eat for dinner. I mean, I've been working all day. I've been painting for the show coming up in April, so finally taking a break to get something to eat.
excellent. Tell us about the show that's coming up.
We got to ask the show.
What's up?
Now that we heard you say the show, you got to mention the where going out there, baby.
April 14th at 212 Arts. It's going to be a different location, though. It's not their usual location. It's going to be at 3126th Street. It's a larger location. Just try to do 100 paintings for it.
Is that did you do that on April 14th because it's really a surprise birthday party for me? Are you going to invite me out?
You ruined it. I've been working on this all week.
I would put on the spot I may have ever seen. That was the best put on the spot shit I've ever seen.
Well,
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but Chris and I we did a podcast together for like 2 years, so we have a pretty good online rapport.
Yeah. He was the Barry White and I was the Frank Sinatra.
Ooh, smoothies.
What's funny is I have people asking all the time when we're doing new episodes. So
Yeah, maybe we should try something like this. This is kind of cool and low pressure and no editing.
Live
sounds
help.
good to me.
Yeah.
So
Sounds good
I
to
mean,
me.
when you do like a podcast, as you guys know, it's the editing that just like it's time suck,
Right.
Yeah, when you do this live, even if someone's like, "That was terrible," I'm like, "It's done. Sorry, can't go back."
It was live.
But
You get what you get.
We'd have to just worry
Really?
about some stuff Corey says. That's the only thing. But I just wanted to jump on and just say, listen, UVD Toys is definitely one of the best toy companies out there right now. Everything Travis has his hands in right now is just incredible. It was an honor and a pleasure to work with him on the Kid in the Cat costume, the magnet that we did. I mean, what did we sell? Over 350 of those?
Yeah.
That,
I got one left.
it's pretty crazy.
One left. Right.
But I just want to say, everybody out there should definitely check out what Travis is doing, and support. I mean, like you were saying, there's not everybody could afford a $500 painting. They could just pick up a $60 toy, $70 toy, or $10 magnet, $20 magnet.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and then the other thing with the toys too, and as Chris knows, like some people are just excited to see the thing that they've always seen flat come into space, whether that's an NFT or a toy, but the toy is a much cheaper way for that to be done, and something you can hold. So
Oh yeah, the physicality of it is incredible. I mean, when I got the the samples of the Kid in the Cat costume, and I'm actually holding my character 3-dimensionally, it was just mind-boggling.
yeah.
So it's definitely got to be as exciting for the collectors, because I mean, even just the different colorways. I mean, just seeing how excited people got for the different colorways that we released.
Yeah.
And it's that collector mentality that just kind of kicks in, is just a good feeling.
Yeah. I think one of the, because when you're working on this, and Chris, it took roughly about a year or so, 13 months, something like that, for the Kid and Cat suit. But like by the time it comes out for like me, it's like I've been looking at this for like a year. So like when they come out, it's like you've already moved on to 3 other things. So you've kind of like, you didn't get the time to sit there and enjoy that. But like when the collectors start getting them in and posting photos and seeing their excitement, it kind of reinvigorates you back into the project, because you're just moving so fast to get everything out and get everything to folks. You just don't always take the time to sit back and like realize like how important some of these things are to people. And really during this whole COVID time, that's where like before I would go to shows, I'd set up, and people come up and talk about how excited they are for the projects and stuff. And, during this whole COVID thing, it's just, you're working in a vacuum. So like, those photos and people posting and sharing and all that kind of stuff is, huge for people like me and Chris. I know Chris gets excited with the artwork and everything as well when people are sharing their thoughts and stuff. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, the reactions to this toy were incredible. I mean, I'm nervous about everything I release, but the reaction to the toy, the reaction to the magnet was mind-blowing.
That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, when Travis approached me about doing the magnet, I was amped, and I had just released the pin where the chest opens and reveals the heart. So when Travis reached out to me and he's like, "Would you want to do a magnet?" I said, "I have an idea. Can we make it happen?" And Travis cares enough that he actually made it happen.
And the whole time I'm sitting there like, Chris, this is going to cost a fortune.
It paid off.
Great idea. Oh.
To be honest, like it literally costs like almost 3.5 times the cost of a normal magnet. So, but I was like, you know what? If we don't make any money on this, it needs to happen because Chris needs to see his vision all the way through. And we made it work. And then the fans responded, like, which was amazing because again, like usually when I make magnets, I make 100, kind of thinking like, well, if we sell 100, that's really good. Like it's because magnets also are not something that people are used to buying in the designer toy art world. But I personally haven't had a lot of success with pins on my website. So I'm always been a little gun shy with pins because I'll make them, I sell them, I break even, and then I have like 50 pins laying around for the rest of eternity. So magnets, I'm always just like, well, it's a bigger product. We can sell it for a little more and people are willing to pay to ship it, because the problem with pins is usually you pay $10 for it and you got to pay like $4 or $5 to ship it. And people are like, nah. So especially with COVID, there was no shows to sell them at. So it was really like, we got to figure out a way to make something in enamel that people can, are willing to ship. And the magnets have done great for us. And then Chris's went freaking crazy, which was amazing because it was a big investment and it allowed us to, recoup those costs and then, also enjoy profits.
You're saying is that your birthday on the 14th should be better when he comes to see you, Chris, that the birthday better be
I'll get the premium package.
He's like, man, on all that magnet money.
Right? I like that Travis glanced over his classic car that he has. You got to ask him what kind of car he has and whose car.
Yeah, we didn't ask that. Tell us.
So I have a 1953 Cadillac.
Wow.
That is, it's pretty heavily modified. So it doesn't really look like a 1953 Cadillac. But what Chris really wants me to tell you is that I bought it from Travis Barker.
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's nothing crazy. I bought it on Bring a Trailer. Anybody could have bought it that was on the internet.
But it wasn't it.
I think there had to be the stipulation that it had to be somebody named Travis to buy it. I think
it had to be passed on to me.
Now that begs me to ask the question: is there going to be a Travis car vinyl?
Oh.
I mean, I don't know how that works. I guess I own the rights to the car now, right?
Hey,
unofficially Travis Barker.
Mm-hmm.
No, I feel like if you approached him, he'd be cool about it, So he obviously now things are a little crazy for him if you're following his love life and his record company situation, but I think he'd be cool with it. He's always been down with the arts and down with designer toys and all that kind of stuff as well. So he posted something the other day. I forget what it was now, but it was a designer toy because my wife was like, "Hey, Travis, did you see this?" I was like, "Yeah, he collects all that kind of stuff." So
there's a crazy crossover. Was it you or was it Corey that was saying that like Robin Williams was a big?
Oh yeah, Corey was talking about it. I guess somebody that came to his shop used to help sell or provide toys over to Robin Williams.
Cool.
Folks. Yeah, there's a lot of celebrities that collect toys. Specifically, like it seems like musicians always pop up as collectors. So I mean, it's out there, and I mean, like musicians as a whole, like. If you think about the artwork on album covers, there's plenty of people in this designer toy scene that have done album covers for artists over the years, and not just like your friend that dropped a mixtape or something. I mean, like legitimate, like albums that were sold and possibly on Billboard. So
Kazakh, right? I go back to there. You talk about he did all the posters and
yep, yeah, did posters. Did he did the album cover for Offspring Americana. That's probably the most recognizable. Yeah, I think that was the number 1 or number 2 album right on Billboard. So I mean, a lot of people know that album cover. But people like Luke Chu did Fall Out Boy. This was a smaller one because they were less famous at the time, but Mike Egan, he's an artist that does a lot of original artwork, but he also has done toys in the past. He did a Hawthorne Heights album. Obviously Cause has done like the Kanye albums and the Clips albums, and people like Takashi Murakami has done Kanye albums. But I mean, there's tons more artists that have done stuff like that. Skinner did Mastodon's album a few years back. I mean, it's just and Alex Pardee did a lot of album covers as well. So I forgot about those, but these folks that are doing all this stuff with designer toys, like designer toys are just a part of what most of them do. So like somebody like Chris that does original artwork and shirts and all this stuff that he makes, a toy is another thing he can offer people, and a lot of artists use it that way. There are some people that are just toy artists, but a lot of times these are artists that are street artists or contemporary artists that do gallery shows and all that. But they're looking for a way to do another medium or another product. So
nice, very nice.
And I will toss, I guess, three more I'll toss out there. I guess is like D-Face did Blink 182, Mike Giant did Blink 182, Risk did Blink 182. Like these are all, and that's another example of Travis tying it all back to the car. He picks the artist to do the album covers. So
and then D-Face did Bear, and you see, like I said, and we've said it on many episodes when we talk about art, we see how all these things have now married together, and you have that platform. Like Defense did stuff with me to comp Bear Bricks and everything. Yep. So there's a bunch of D-Face stuff out there where you're instead of saying, hey, I really like this piece that I see, and I'm like, oh, you got $27,000. Like, you know what, I have the $175 that I can buy the 400% Bear Brick on. And again, giving people the ability to have this art in their collection, part of their home, and to truly be a collector. And like I said, I followed, I know Chris knows all the stuff I have. I've been a huge fan of Chris forever. And you follow the natural progression of how everything really started with how the street art, and you look, and it goes, from it being a crime and everything to Don D, to Ram LZ, to Tristan, to you guys, to Jeremy, and to Kid Robot, and just you keep watching it progress and progress. And I couldn't be happier for somebody who's been around it for so many years to watch that natural progression just keep going. And I know you guys know at 100, I don't see any end and stop, and people are loving it. People, like I said, you're at a platform where you can get younger kids involved to appreciate the arts. And to me, the arts are one of the most important things that we have to pass on to the next generation. And I'm seeing this as one of the best ways to get that, to get the appreciation out there. Parents aren't going to go drop $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 pieces, but you know what? The child's starting to show the interest and the colors and everything, the whimsy, and for lack of better terminology, the happiness that it brings you. That's how you get them in. That's that's what it is. And this new artisan way of doing that, like I said, I couldn't be, even stuff I'm wearing today. I'm a big Kenny Scharf guy. In the 90s, Kenny Scharf started throwing stuff on Movados and swatches, and I loved it, man. Like I said, it just keeps progressing. And I couldn't be happier about it. And you guys, I can't thank you enough. I know so many art collectors feel the same way. Thank you for the joy that you've given us. Thank you for the art. Thank you for keep spitting it out for us so that we have it, because now it's become something that we look forwards to. And like I said, during COVID, to not just myself, but countless amounts of other people are so thankful that they're able to have this to, lighten up otherwise, shitty days. And it's the artisan things that kept us together, cigars and art and high-end, spirits and bourbon. I'm like, think about what people had time to do and what they did. They had time to enjoy arts, to read, music, like I said, hobbies like cigars and spirits. So thank you guys. I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you've done and what you're doing and what you're continuing to do.
Yeah, and it's definitely great to hear, like I said earlier, like people enjoying it, because like, you know, the biggest scary part about doing all this and is coming up with an idea or selecting an idea with an artist and then dropping all that money and putting it to get it made. And then you're like, is anybody going to care? You know, because like at the end, I mean, it's obviously a worst case scenario, but like you could not sell anything that you've made. You know, that's a real, you know, possibility that could happen. And, you know, so you're kind of just nervous that whole year while you're waiting for things to get made and brought over and everything. So it's always great just to hear that people are enjoying it and are excited for what we're doing.
That thing with Putin for his art project, man. Like, you know what? I just don't feel good about this, Putin. We're not gonna do this toy this time. What you're talking about, this great comrade. Yeah, I just don't feel good about it.
Not this time.
Well, it's crazy, like, you know, the lead time for this stuff too, because I mean, like, you know, there's the issue with, I think, the toy manufacturing and the delays and everything like that is you really have to be like a year ahead.
Yeah,
you know, so what's hot right now isn't necessarily going to be hot in a year. So if you start producing that toy now, that is something, you know, some TikTok trend or whatever, now you could be screwed in a year.
Yeah. And that's, you know, that's why I try not to focus on like toy trends. I mean, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do because you're like, man, this person's killing it, you know, like, but I try not to focus on that. I try to focus on art, the artist, and the following. I try to focus on that and, you know, trying to make sure that I can hopefully find people that have a following that wants to support them. I mean, that's the key. Like, you can have the best idea in the world, but, you know, if you've got, you know, 50 followers on Instagram, and you don't sell your art like direct to people or something, like if you don't have people to buy it, I can't make a 500 of something, you know, like no matter how good the idea is, it's hard to risk it, you know, because it's, you know, it's thousands and thousands of dollars and it's only getting more expensive. Things like shipping are going up, plastics going up. If you think about vinyl during COVID, the vinyl that we use to make toys is the same vinyl that they're using to make vinyl gloves. So like hospitals and all that stuff with the increased use for gloves and everything, that made the price of toys go up. I mean, and there was a huge cardboard shortage last year because of all the products getting made. So that made the price of boxes go up, you know, like on the toys, on the boxes that the toys get put in, plus the shipping container boxes, plus the boxes I got to ship out to you. Like all that has gone up and it only gets more expensive. So like you have to focus on, if you want to make a toy, are people interested in your artwork first? And then from there, you know, then you can make that leap to vinyl. And if you're not ready to go that point, maybe you get a 3D sculpt together, right? And you do a render like Kid Robot does. And you show that off, see what the reaction is, maybe do a pre-order off of it, or better yet, get it printed out, get it hand painted, make a prototype, you know, and see people's reaction. If people like it, then maybe you mold it and then you cast it in resin or have somebody cast it in resin for you and then paint it yourself. But you know, everybody wants that vinyl toy, but there's a reason not everybody has a vinyl toy. And there's a reason why somebody like Chris didn't have one for a long period until a long period into his career, is because back when, you know, in the mid 2000s, it was super expensive then too. Like, oh
yeah. I remember getting price quotes for just even samples. A sample was like 10 grand back then,
yep.
You know, and here I am, you know, no way I could afford that, you know, and then, you know, people don't realize, you know, yes, it's gotten easier in some ways now, but like you're even saying, I mean, a 3D render cost you how much to get made. And now with all the NFT projects going on out there, those artists that were great at 3D renders, now they're so busy with NFT stuff, you can't even get on their schedule. And if you do, their rates have gone through the roof.
Yep.
So
yeah,
people don't take all that into consideration, you know?
Yeah. And they're just like, man, I want to make a toy. You know, and then they're mad when you try to tell them like, hey, this might not be the best idea.
People hate reality, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of people get confused too. You know, they look at our Instagram, and I think the idea of a producer or a maker confuses them. You know, like Hasbro is a producer, right? They have factories, or they work with factories, and just like I do. I don't, you know, own the factory. They probably own a factory. But, you know, like the idea of like a brand that is marketing and selling artist wares seems to get lost on some people. They think we're a factory, or they think we're making them in our garage or something. You know, like it is kind of lost on them. But really what we're doing is we're curating projects and selecting projects that fit the brand identity that we're trying to put out in the world, and working with cool artists that, you know, kind of line up with our ideas and what we want to produce. So when I tell you that, you know, if I go through that spiel, or you ever contact me about making something and I tell you like, hey, you know, it costs a lot of money and all that stuff, I'm not making this stuff up just to get you to go away. Like, that's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to be honest with you. And if you have an idea that I think is good, I'll tell you like, hey, I think you should try to push this, but you need to get it out there more before you jump to this vinyl. I'm not trying to tell you don't make a vinyl toy, but I'm trying to save you lots of time and lots of money. You know, because at the end of the day, like, it's hard for somebody to sell hundreds of things out of their own little store, you know, like on their online store or whatever. Maybe if they're doing a lot of shows, like they're going to, you know, like Comic-Cons and stuff like that, it's a little easier, but you know, it's not easy to do that. And then there's a lot of logistics that goes along with it too. So like there's horror stories like, Chris, what if we would have shipped all the toys, all 400 of them to your house and said, okay, Chris, store these until we sell them all. Like,
exactly. Well, first off, my wife would have flipped out. And I don't necessarily know if I could sleep in my basement, you know. But it's true, you know, it's even for like me, like when me and Travis will talk about a project, you know, if I show him something that he doesn't think is going to work, he's honest about it. And that's what's great about it, you know. And, you know, a lot of these people, they want to get something made, and everybody wants to get something made. And we understand that, but a lot of people don't know the information. You know, like one of the most listened to episodes of the podcast we did was when Travis and Corey broke down making vinyl toys, because all that information is really not out there for people. So people see a toy that gets made, they might think it's vinyl. That could be something like resin that's only 20 made. So when they see somebody posted, you know, my toy sold out, yeah, you sold 20 of them. So that kind of gives false hope to a lot of people.
Yeah, I think another huge misconception is that, you know, so we released, you know, Chris's release was 4 groups of 100. A lot of people seem to think that we made 100 and then we made 100 more and then 100 more and then 100 more. No, we had to make them all at the same time, because if we went to them and said we want to make 100, the factory would laugh at us and say, well, that's not worth our time, and move on. Like, you can't just make 100 of something. Like in vinyl, yeah, you can do it in resin, but you know, you can do a lot of stuff here in the States with resin that you can do 10 of something or 5 of something. Heck, you can make 1. It's not really financially make any sense, but heck, you could make 1. You know, but for vinyl, you got to make 500, 1,000. Like, it really depends on the design, how complex it is, how many molds there are. Think of like t-shirts. There's a setup cost, right? You got to pay for the screen, you know, and then if you make, you know, 500 t-shirts, guess what? Each one only costs, you know, $10 to make or something. I don't know, whatever it is. But if you make 3 of those shirts, guess what? They cost like $30 a piece to make. Like, you know, that's how toys work. The molds are a fixed cost, and you divide those costs over all the units. Well, to get things into like a correct unit cost, or, you know, to where it can work to go to retail, wholesale and retail, you got to make a bunch of them. Like, that's just how it is, you know. And that's hard for, you know, especially like an independent person, but it's also hard for somebody that doesn't have connections to retail. Like, if you don't have retailers backing your projects or picking up, you know, wholesale units from you, you got to make all that work, unless you're an artist that can just sell hundreds of things out of, you know, yourself. You know, but if you're that level, you're probably not just knocking on my door to, you know, like, so like, it's just a matter of, you know, I think the number one thing that confuses me the most when I see somebody like contact me about making something is they say, hey, make my thing. And, they sometimes they're kind of pushy about it. But they say, make my thing. And then I go look at their website or their Instagram, and they have no pictures of art.
Wow.
And if you're not already actively like posting pictures of your art or your designs or your ideas or anything like that, then you probably don't have a following that's going to be able to support you spending $30,000 or $20,000 or whatever the cost is to make your toy. You probably don't have it. And I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but at the same time, like me telling you that is me being honest with you and like preparing you for like, hey, this is like a $20,000 bill and I'm not making this number up, and if you're not ready for that, then don't make this investment because it's not going to go well.
Look, all right. My first disappointment of the month, scratch off, no Matty Rock vinyl. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that, not even, even somebody like, like at Chris's level, like it's not guaranteed that it's going to go well. Like it's not. And, even somebody like us that we make a lot of toys, it's not guaranteed that we're going to sell them all and sell them all out or even break even on all of them. It's not guaranteed.
Glad that you're mentioning it to everybody out there. Cause like I said, you've heard the whole thing. People can't keep blaming COVID for this and that. And you take that into account and all these other things you're talking about, even other simple stuff. I mean, we know the artist, Mario Penn, even the bands to get on Sanj's S1014. We were supposed to have them weeks before. And it was done to where they said done deal. Guess what? Logistics became a nightmare yet again, so it got set back. So now you guys, in obviously massive proportions, people have to understand that. And guys and gals, I'm telling you out there, you got to be patient. Support.
Yeah, and I mean, like we were talking about earlier with the shipment for Atomic. It's like, we had like half a container, worth of stuff stuck in Long Beach, and people are like, well, why isn't it moving forward? It's like, like Walmart or somebody could actually like call somebody probably and say, pull my container and unload it. UVD Toys does not have that.
So you had to wait. Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to wait. Like, you're at their mercy. It wasn't going fast for anybody. Right. And it definitely wasn't going fast for a small guy, unless you're Walmart or Home Depot or something, you're kind of just at the mercy of, whenever they get to you. You
had to wait for how long for that one?
It took 4 months, but it did sit in Long Beach for 2 of those 4 months.
But you knew where it was, and
yeah, we can track it just like you can track, your package from Amazon. It's not necessarily quite as up to date as your Amazon package, but you can kind of get an idea at least where it's at. But it doesn't say like you're number 47 in line or anything like that. It just says it's sitting in Long Beach.
Only with you do. Yeah. What number you were? Hashtag what, Matty?
Hashtag good luck. I like
exactly. Last year I learned, it'll get here when it gets here. That's kind of, what it is, which is horrible for planning. But at the end of the day, like, it's not worth sitting here worrying about it. Just make sure your customers are aware of, the delays and all that kind of stuff. And if there's pre-orders involved and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Make retailers aware and all that. So.
Well, what was crazy, like you were saying before, is, these towns over and where these things are getting made, they get shut down. They get shut down for a week. We don't know about it here.
Yeah,
so like your collectors or your pre-orders and everything like that, they're not aware of that. Yep. And half the time you're not even aware of it until you ask. So it's like you're sitting there, I think the town is closed down to like the 20 something. So like that's 2 weeks out of production that you try to explain to a collector or whatever, but they don't get it. Yeah. Because like you said, here everybody's walking around with no masks on, everybody's walking around eating McDonald's like it's no big deal. Yeah. And it's such a lack of communication by just everybody. Yep.
Yeah, and then the crazy thing with like factory delays, I've kind of discovered over the years, like if you delay, like say they send you something and they want you to respond, right? And if you wait like a week to get back to them or 2 weeks, that sometimes means a month or two delay because basically you missed the window, right? Your window was that time and they've moved on to something else and they'll get back to you when they get back to you. So like, you know, something like the shutdown, you know, it could create months delays on these projects that we're supposed to finish up in the next, you know, month or so. So, but we won't know until they get back and then they start working, and then they probably don't want to tell us it's going to get delayed. And then I'll find out like when they don't ask me to pay them at the end of May or the end of April.
So now, guys and gals, now you know.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, you know, we're thousands and thousands of miles apart, you know, and yes, they want the money, but at the same time, designer toys are made in between legitimate orders. Like, you know, they don't want to make my 1,000 toys. They don't want to do that, but you know, they have gaps in their availability. So they're working with some bigger company that's making thousands and thousands of units, right? Well, they've got a gap in this month for this week. We can make your guys' stuff just to keep the line going. Boom. You know, that's kind of how it works. You know, we're kind of the filler, so they don't have to shut the line down. They can keep all the people working. They can keep their factory on and all that stuff. We're not necessarily making them, you know, tons of money, but we're allowing them not to have to shut down. So between their bigger orders.
And as we move forward with the challenges you all have had, and obviously the popularity, the interest, but the challenges you've had the last couple of years, the fluctuation in certain cost, what are you seeing for the future in the next couple of years? What are you?
I mean, kind of the biggest thing to come along in the past couple of years in the art world in general is the idea of NFTs, right? So we're constantly asked, when are we going to dip our toe into the world of NFTs? And I haven't found the thing that like 1000% makes sense for me to do that, because the NFT world is evolving relatively quickly as well. So like if we would have jumped in the NFT world, you know, this time last year probably would have been a good example. We could have jumped out there and tossed out some 3D models in spinning rotation and probably would have did okay with it. But now that seems pretty dated. I don't see a lot of that anymore. Like that's not like a popular thing in the NFT market anymore. It doesn't seem like. And the NFT world evolves kind of quickly. So you kind of have to like come up with something cool that people are interested in. It's very time consuming to keep up with. But maybe at some point here, we'll dip our toes into it. We've been working with some of the artists that we work with are fairly popular in the NFT space. So we might do that, but I don't see us ever stopping making stuff completely, because, you know, the physical world, the physical space is, you know, art is very tactile and people like to see it and feel it. And I think digital art is another example of something that somebody like Chris could do to add on to their art career as a whole. And it's been great for digital artists that didn't have access to do stuff like Chris does. But do I think it's going to replace people collecting? I don't think so. I think there's always going to be a combination of some sort where people want physical product. It doesn't, like some people are saying that, you know, it's better for the environment because you're not making things, but based on all this gas news and all this stuff, I don't know if it's 100% better for the environment. It's probably like a net zero, you know. But at the end of the day, like I think that's a direction that we might take and add that as a combination into what we're already doing. But you know, I think part of it, you know, the future for designer toys and people like us in general is just, again, vetting those projects and making sure we're selecting things that are giving us the best chance to succeed. I do kind of want to dabble more into the product and merch side of things. I think that's something that has done well for us and is also just fun. My brain works in ways of, I'd already figured out toys. That's kind of going well. So now I need to figure out how to find other factories and make other things. We've done things like rugs in the past year, bath mats, pint glasses, bronzes, magnets. Let's see, other crazy. Oh, we made water bottles. We've done, you know, whatever I could kind of come up with cool ways to make and do, and what I had access to, you know, to make more things and, you know, provide other things that people can collect, and again, create those price points. And so far, it's worked for us. So hopefully, it continues to work for us because it's a lot of fun to do different stuff. You know, it just making the same thing all the time gets kind of boring. So,
Don't forget about the pillows.
oh yeah, the pillows, those did really well for us. I think we made 8 so far. And I have 2 more that I'm kind of like working on. I've got to get the designs finalized and everything. But the pillows, they were 18 inches tall. They were die cut, shaped like a lot of the characters we work with. Like the Space Monkey and the Bear Champ and the Atomic Orange. We did a bunch more, but like I said, I'm not going to name them all. But they did really well for us, and it was a good way to bring art into your home in a different way, because a lot of the artists that we work with, they live in like urban cities, right? Or their artwork's in a lot of cities, and people don't always have the space to like dedicate to 10 toys or something, but maybe they want to decorate their couch with a pillow or whatever. So it's ways to create other avenues for people to display artwork, and bring artwork into their homes, and kind of display what they see throughout the cities that they live in, or or the artists that they like to support.
Right on.
Yeah. Let me put the website up one more time so you all can follow UVD Toys on social, and also check out the toys they have and everything they're doing. Wow, what a real pleasure, Travis. And Chris, thanks for popping on here too. A nice surprise, and it's so good to see you again. And so much to look forward to, Chris. Again, your collection will be where and when? Say that one more time for us.
April 14th, 212 Arts. All the information's on my Instagram at ChrisRWK. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. And Travis, you're very talented. You have some very, really cool stuff. Thanks for sharing this with us. We really appreciate it.
Oh no, thanks for having me on. This was actually fun. Just talking and hanging out, and kind of reminded me of doing the Urban Robot Cat.
Yeah.
Guys have been doing, and like I said, appreciating that we now have this way to all share the art on yet another platform, and bring really more collectors to the fold. So can't thank you guys enough. Much love, much respect for what you're doing, and you've got me. You guys have got me for life. Love what you do. Appreciate it more, and cheers to another million years of doing this, because I love it, man. Makes me very happy. Makes a lot of people out there incredibly happy.
Yeah, well done to you all, and thanks everybody for liking this video, sharing it, for watching. We really appreciate everybody watching tonight. And Matty, I'll be seeing. Is it 2 weeks from today? Is that what it is?
Hey, Saj, come here.
2 weeks from today. I'm going to go and tell everybody this real quick. bourbonblog.com/tickets is where you get those tickets for the Cigar Barbecue. You'll be able to see Matty, Sanj, and I'll be there too with whiskey. We're looking forward to it, aren't we, Sanj?
Absolutely, 100%.
So there's a couple of tickets left for guys and gals. If you haven't purchased them, I think we're about 87% sold. So there's a couple of those tickets left. Our guest next week will be Mr. Brad Karsten, guy who created Gas Monkey Garage and has his media and his production group will be on. And then in 2 weeks' time, we will be broadcasting live from Handsome Devil, which is our brother Ed Randolph and his crew. We'll be slinging some barbecue, some cigars, some sticks, some artwork, a whole bunch of cool stuff going on. So, like I said, can't wait. Keep rolling along. It's going to be a great event. And again, thank you guys so much for being on tonight.
Yep.
Much love and appreciation.
Thank you, guys.
Much love, everybody. Thanks, everybody. Cheers. Thanks for watching us.
See you next week, y'all.